Josh, thank you, buddy.
One down for Ohio State. A win is a win, right? Welcome to the Notebook. We are at Memorial Stadium. Ohio State wrapping up right now with their post-game press conference. Handful of players and Ryan Day talking about a win 23-3 on Saturday to start the Big Ten season. You see everybody scattering about here. I am Austin Ward. This is where Ohio State's locker room is. And I can understand if people leave week one with a little bit of questions about it's not the best Ohio State can play. Well, they're week one openers. They're not supposed to be perfect. I think a lot of people anticipated that. 23-3, in most cases, you're going to take that when you have three new offensive linemen. You have a new quarterback out there. You have Perry Eliano getting the safeties going right here. For week one, the good performance, you have to say, for defense. So if you look at leaving some points on the board, 23-3, see Barb over here, you can see the tearing down and taking the pads here. This is Ohio State's locker room in here in this beautiful town. Trying to get this stuff back to Columbus. Everything starts with the quarterbacks, right? Kyle McCord took every drive of consequence except for one. Devin Brown went 3 and out. Ryan Day talked about that after the game in the decision-making process. Said would have liked Devin Brown to play more, but the thought was maybe around the 3rd drive and then the 5th or 6th. So why do I bring that up? It seems like Ohio State didn't have an intention necessarily to play both evenly. They did want to get both involved, but that didn't happen. And that's, I think, understandable when you're playing a tight game with 10-3, 13-17. Like, it was a tight game into the 3rd quarter. In a Big Ten road game, you want to make sure that you get the win. So Ryan Day said, let Kyle McCord get into a rhythm. Didn't want to have to start that process over with Devin Brown.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to talk to him?
Logically, that makes sense. But that doesn't mean that this situation is over, that Devin Brown won't have an opportunity in the next 2 weeks. I expect that he will. We're going to talk a lot more about the quarterbacks when we get to that. These things are pretty cool right over here. I thought they were a little too close to the field because Berm is down here shooting photos, and you had some folks loading up with the all-inclusive suites. I'm going to pop in there. Berm, they said you could have some water. I know you're thirsty. They were going to give you some if you walked away. So going through the notebook, one of the first things that jumped out to me was obviously going through the quarterbacks. And I thought that the first drive, and it looked like the vintage version of Ryan Day, mixing in some different runs, getting aggressive, go for it on a 4th and 2. Kyle McCord throws to G. Scott, punch that in. It's like, okay, well, here they go. They're going to be off and running. That probably was not a fair expectation for that to continue out throughout the entire game, but they did come out at least firing, and when you complement that with some really good defense, that helps. Some guys that I thought I took note of starting debuts, first debuts, Arvell Reese on special teams, flying around on some kickoff stuff. Not sure that I necessarily expected that. Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome, Mr. Ward and Mr. Berm.
Head back in here just for a second to show you where Ohio State did their press conference. Carrying down here, beautiful scenery in here. That was Ryan Day's press conference. A nice little setup. I would say that's probably one of the few things that Memorial Stadium does have an advantage over the Horseshoe, is the media setting. I have to defer to Berm on if that worked for him down here with the photo well. What do you think, Dan?
It's better than being outside.
Better than being outside, all right. So, as you can see, people are in a hurry to get out of here this week. Was hoping to grab some of those guys, but the coaching staff or the players on the way to the bus, but they want to get back to Columbus as quickly as possible, get ready for week 2. Malik Hartford, another player who got his debut, that came in the 3rd quarter at safety. I think that may have been tied to Josh Proctor picking up a little bit of discomfort in his left ankle, had some ice on that. One of the finest, maybe the finest performance of Josh Proctor's career. He got the start, played the vast majority of those snaps of consequence at safety. Then Malik Hartford got in there. Ohio State got another one of their 3 and outs. Saw Tyleik Williams early. Came out in a big brace right over here. They were warming up. Oh, boy, I don't know. How much can he give? A lot. Ohio State played Tyleik Williams a great amount. He had a big impact on this game. Give him a lot of credit for playing through some of that. I don't know how much pain he was feeling, but definitely some. Otherwise, you wouldn't wear a brace as bulky as that. He made a handful of plays. Defensive tackles, I thought, I may not always agree with the rotation, but they had a really effective game. It was capped late. Jaden McKenzie with a sack. Did not have that on my bingo card. And Hero Canoe capped that late in the 4th quarter with one of his own. You can see Ryan Day heading towards the bus here. We keep that in there. 1-0. What's the best part of that? 2-0. That's what I thought. So let's see what Ohio State's got to eat back here today. Always the best part is when they leave that for us. We can scoop some for the bus. Good soup, thank you. Okay. Qdoba. Look, here, Burn. Would you like a water? Yeah, Burn the water. All right. Yeah, something like that. Everybody heading to the bus. Okay. Beautiful 18-wheeler right here as well. Maybe we should help it a little bit. Drive on that back, but it is quite an ordeal. Congrats to Mark Pantoni, Ohio State. Go back to this quarterback situation. How different could it have looked if on drive number 3, Chip Trainum is not wiped out on a 4th and short play action rollout. Trainum goes down. Kyle McCord's trying to buy time. The throw is late, and it's back to the middle of the field. It's not where you want it to be. It's a turnover. If you're not going to complete the pass, it would have been either way. I'm not sure how impactful that really was. But that did immediately prompt the change on the next drive. Seems like that was the plan. And Devin Brown goes in there, but they go 3 and out. Go right back to Kyle McCord. I thought that he recovered well and responded to that adversity. I think it'll be really interesting to see. Ohio State's not going to have problems scoring next week or 2 weeks from now. So what does that mean for how they're going to handle the reps? We'll find out. That's that situation. Marvin Harrison checked on his status after the game. He came down and looked like injured the shoulder or got the wind knocked out late in that first half. That's a scary thought for Ohio State, but he's okay. No concern about that from Ryan Day. I don't think he needs to play a lot next week either. Cade Stover, if you're going to hand out some Buckeye leaves, a heck of a game for that Ohio State tight end. I think he finished with 98 yards. Shout out to some of the folks down here. I had to try it. We're going to try and do this for all the schools that have them on the road for some legitimate road beers. This is the Hoosier Game Day Lager. Some nice fans down here decided to share with me. We'll give it a taste test. Ohio State with one win out of the way, 23-3. Yeah, that tastes like a macro craft. No, not. It can't be both of those things. It tastes like a generic lager. How about I do that? I'll split the bill. It's much better than Bud Light or Coors Light, but I think it was designed to be consumed on a very hot day, just like today. And I think I need it after a long day like this. So it's classically smooth and refreshing. I think that's probably a fair assessment. 4.7% alcohol by volume. It is made by Upland in Bloomington, which I am a huge fan of theirs. I've had many of their sours. Taken Berm there, and he ordered 2 flights. They were the exact same flight both times. So we'll work on that. Maybe we'll have a few more. But I think that's where we have to wrap up for week 1. Is there anything I'm forgetting, Berm?
No, unless we want to go through, the stadium, but there's not really a lot to see here. Yeah,
they've shut it down pretty quickly, and we're losing a little bit of daylight because we still have some more content to provide from 23-3 Ohio State. Next week we'll be back. We're going to do this notebook. We hope you enjoy it. There may not be beer for me at the end of it every time, but I would sure prefer it if there were. It's delicious. Thanks to Berm for running the camera. Thanks to everybody who's been watching all of the content on the podcast. We got a lot more to break down from this game, and we will, but that's where we're going to leave it for now on the first episode of the Notebook of the season. Ohio State 1-0. We'll talk to you later.